Hi, crafty friends, and welcome to another installment of Kakana Public Library's crochet classes. So, if you haven't seen videos 1, 2, and 3, you can find those on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page, and that would get you caught up to where we are currently with our crochet lessons. So, we've already learned some stitches. We've learned single crochet, double crochet. We've learned how to do a slip stitch. We've learned how to change colors and finish our work. And we've learned how to work in the round and all kinds of fun stuff. So today I thought we'd put some of those together, and I'm going to show you how to make a granny square because that uses a lot of the skills that we've been doing together. So to start with a granny square, we're going to make our slip knot and tighten it on our hook. And granny squares are worked in the round. So I'm going to start with a round space to work into it, but instead of just chaining 2 like I would for the beginning of a hat or something, I'm going to chain 4. So I have a little bit of a longer chain here, and then I'm going to make a slip stitch in the first chain that I made. So I'm going to pull it through my stitch and then through my loop on the hook. And what this gives me is a tiny little donut to work into. So now I'm going to start working my first round of the granny square. So as I work around, I'm going to work over this tail, and I'll show you why that's helpful as we get a little further into it. So to start with, because I'm going to work my granny square in double crochet, I'm going to chain 3. This counts as my first double crochet stitch, just as if I were working in rows. Then I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the middle of that donut, pull up my loop, and sorry, get my tail out of the way there, and I'm going to complete my double crochet stitch. Now I'm going to work another double crochet. And what this gives me is a cluster of 3 double crochet stitches coming out of my little donut. So then I'm going to give myself a little more yarn here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to chain 2. What that chain does is create a corner of my square. So now I'm going to do 3 more double crochets into the donut to create another edge of my square. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now you can kind of see that I have 2 edges and a corner. So once again, I'm going to chain 2 to make another corner and do another 3 double crochet. And I'm going to keep working over this tail and kind of holding it as I go, because that will make it so 1, I don't have to weave it in when I'm finishing, and 2, I can pull on it when I'm done to close up that center circle if I want to. Sometimes it looks nice to keep the center circle open on a granny square. Depends on what you like. So now I've got 3 sides and 2 corners. So I'm going to chain 2 again for another corner. And I'm going to do another group of 3 double crochets. So now I've got 4 sides and 3 corners. So I need to make my last corner. So I'm going to chain 2 And now if you remember, we started with a chain 3 and that counted as our first double crochet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the top of that chain 3. So it's not quite into my double crochet stitches, it's still a chain, and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain to join my corner. So there we go. And now I have my first little square. Now, to get to the point where I'm going to start the next round, I'm going to slip stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook, pull up my loop, and pull it through the loop into these next 2 stitches. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the next corner space. So I've made 3 slip stitches across this edge here. So I joined over here for my corner, slip stitch, and then another slip stitch into the corner space. And that gets me ready to start my next round. So to do that, again, I'm going to chain 3 to count as my first double crochet stitch. Then I'm going to work 2 double crochet to make my cluster. And then I need to make a new corner. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do another 3 double crochet into that same corner space. There's 1, 2, and 3. So now you can kind of see my little square has like a mouse's ear. So that is my new corner. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1. That 1 is going to just create a chain space for me to work into. And then I'm going to do 3 double crochet and then chain 2 and then another 3 double crochet and then I have the half of this square made. So now I'm going to chain 1 again for my side space. And then again, I'm going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet into the next corner. 1, 2, 3, and I chain 2 for my corner space. And then 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to chain 1 for my edge space. Give myself some more yarn here. And then I'm going to do another set of corner clusters. So 1, 2, 3, and then chain 2, and 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to create my last edge space by chaining 1, and then I'm going to go find the top of that beginning chain 3 again, that top chain, and I'm going to slip stitch to join, and there I have 2 rounds of my square. So now I want to do another round. So again, I'm going to slip stitch in the next double crochet, slip stitch in the next double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the corner space. But now say I want to do a round of my square in a different color. So I'm going to show you that next. What I'm going to do if I want to join a new color, I've got my second color here. Once I've got my slip stitch in that corner, I'm going to do my new chain 3 with my new color, because that will be the color of the new double crochet. So I've got 1, 2, and 3 in my new color, and I just pull that old slip stitch down tightly so that it doesn't get in my way there. And then what I'll do is I'm going to hold both tails as I work and work over them, because that will help secure them. So I'm going to do my 2 double crochets since my chain counts as my first one. So there's my first corner cluster in my new color. And then I'm going to chain 2 for my corner space, and then do a cluster of 3. And since I've worked over those tails, you can kind of see they're coming out of my stitches there. I can just let them fall to the back now, because they're secured by my new stitches. So now I'm going to create an edge space. So I'm going to chain 1. And now I'm going to work into an edge space, which is the chain 1 space here from my previous round. But I'm just going to do 3 in here because it's not a corner, so it just needs a cluster of 3. So there we go. Now I'm going to do another edge space. So that's a chain 1, and now I'm back at a corner. So I'm going to do 2 clusters in there. So 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to chain 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So there I've got 1 edge done with my corners. So then again, I will chain 1, work 3 double crochet into my edge chain space, and I'm going to chain 1 again to make a new edge space, and then I do another corner. So there we go. Chain 1, another edge cluster, Another corner. I've got one last side to do. So do my edge space and my edge cluster. And another edge space, and I'm ready to join. So I find the top of my beginning chain there and slip stitch into the top of that beginning chain. And then I have my square with my second color. So the great thing about granny squares is you just keep going like that. So again, I could slip stitch across these stitches, work my corner, create an edge space, work 3 into this edge space, create another edge space, work 3 into this edge space, and you'll see that each ensuing round creates more clusters, and that's how the square grows. They work up really fast, as you can see. So what you could do is very quickly make a lot of little squares and then stitch them together with your yarn along the edges. Or you can, if you want to make a square blanket, you can just keep going like this around and around and around and around until you run out of yarn or patience, and then you have an afghan. And they're really fun and versatile, little retro, but hey, I think they're back in style, and I like them a lot and think they're really fun. So I will post some patterns for granny squares for you in the comments on this video, so you can take a look at those and see if any of them look fun to you. And there's lots of variations on granny squares too. This is the most basic pattern for a granny square, but there's lots of ways to make them into circles or triangles or all kinds of shapes that are fun to put together into pixel patterns. So I hope you've enjoyed our crochet videos. We'll be rerunning them from time to time, and I'm always here for any crochet questions you have. Thanks so much, and we'll see you at Kakana Public Library soon. Bye-bye.